can see them in their face because they're reminded constantly that I'm here for a few months, people in the area. But with us, with the church, with the ministry that we do for them, they feel like, oh, this is home because this is where God is, and they feel welcome and they feel loved.
Well, all right, so let's start off with, so you are originally from Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And then?
Well, it's a long story, but the short version, Puerto Rico to Spain, where I was a seminarian at the time. From Spain back to Puerto Rico, then Puerto Rico to Texas, Washington. And in Washington, it's the Diocese of Yakima, and that's where I'm a seminarian for right now.
And so then, throughout this whole time, did you ever in your mind think, what is it, like I'm a migrant, and how does that feel? Did you ever think about that?
So, because Puerto Rican, we have the American citizenship. At first, it did not cross my mind until I actually took the leap between Puerto Rico and the United States, and I said, oh, this is how it feels like. And at that moment, as I was living in Texas and in Washington, I said, this is what a migrant feels like.
Wow. So then, as having that experience of what it feels like to be a migrant, do you think that helps you as you are serving in your community at Yakima? Is there a migrant community there?
So yeah, actually in my diocese in Yakima, which is in Washington State, the majority of people are Hispanic, and of those Hispanic, the more like 80% or so are migrant people. They come and they work there in my diocese. And you see them in the church, you see them in everywhere you go to. Going back to your question, I think my experience as someone who's lived in many places, seeing myself as someone at first that did not feel like I was a migrant, but then I actually felt it. I think that experience had just broadened my knowledge, but also my sensitivity to people who are far away from home. And then it's funny because people ask you, so where's home for you? And it gets to the point that you're like, okay, home is Puerto Rico for me, but then I'm living in Yakima, which is my new home. And sometimes it could be kind of conflicting with one another. Mm-hmm. My heart is in Puerto Rico. My reality right now is in Yakima, Washington State. And that experience, that duality that sometimes I experience can actually help me when I'm talking to other people who are working in Washington, but at the same time they miss home, and they're like in that reality that I experience now every day, actually.
And then through your time at Yakima, are you able to, like when you have those conversations with other migrants, but at the same time with other seminarians and priests, is there something that you guys do to be able to better serve that community?
Yeah, so in my particularity, some background in psychology, so uniting the psychology with my experience as a migrant, with the reality of every people that I encounter with, just helps me to kind of see everyone as a unique person, instead of, oh, those are the Hispanics, or those are the American people, those are the Puerto Ricans. No, to see the uniqueness in every human being that I'm ministering from. In my diocese in particular, we have a lot of farming, so we get a lot of migrants from Mexico and other places that they help us with the fruit picking and whatnot. So they come and they spend a few months in Puerto Rico and in Washington, and then they go back home, wherever that might be, and then they return for the season. That reality for them, going back and forward, it keeps them fresh in their mind that I'm a migrant, I'm always a migrant. And that reality just is an opportunity for me, for my brother seminarians, for the priests and the diocese, to always remind them that even though you feel like a migrant, you are a son and a daughter of God. And as a seminarian and as a priest, future priest, God willing, and in my diocese, we like to let them know that we love you because you are a creature of God, a beloved son and daughter of God. And that reality just takes them, and you can see them in their face because they're reminded constantly that I'm here for a few months, people in the area. But with us, with the church, with the ministry that we do for them, they feel like, oh, this is home because this is where God is, and they feel welcome and they feel loved, which is a beauty.
Oh yeah, that's amazing too. Like you said, sometimes you're like, it's home Puerto Rico, it's home Washington, it's home Yakima, Texas, and to be able to feel like that beloved Son of God. And so, as you continue to share that, are there specific ministries that you are experiencing or that you guys do in Yakima that allows for this sensation of beloved son and family at the parish or at the churches?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. So every summer, at least as seminarian, when we are not studying in the seminary, we spend most of our summers providing ministry to migrants and their families. And we have different things that we do. One of them is seminarians. They go and they do the fruit picking with the migrant people, the workers. So we can have an experience of what they do. And as we're in the fields picking fruits and doing different things, we have the opportunity to talk to them. And they're like, oh, sometimes they confuse seminarian and priest. Oh, the priest is talking to me. He's next to me picking fruits. He's sorting fruits with me. So they feel, because they value, priesthood and the church, when they see that unity between what I'm doing and what they are doing, they feel like, oh, we are one in Christ. So they feel loved and they feel welcome. That's with the parents. With the kids, we have a literacy wagon. And what we do is, while the parents are actually working in the fields, we are with the kids. And we spend approximately from 9 to 12 p.m. from Monday through Thursday. And we just reserve that time to help them read. Some of them don't know how to read, so we teach them how to read. We use some games to help them increase their knowledge, both in their abilities to read, but also in functional abilities and other abilities, developmental abilities that they, for their mind, they're playing, but at the end, actually, we are teaching them other things. Yeah. It's interesting because my first summer as a seminarian in Washington, with my psychological background, we were able to develop a document that for each game that we're playing with the kids, these are the developmental consequences or abilities that we are targeting to. Wow. So if you're playing this, by doing this, you're playing and helping them realize on how to use their hands at the same time they are developing their thoughts and making hypotheses and resolutions on whatever they're doing. So it's been quite interesting. So we go all the way from ministering the parents all the way to the children. And in each camp that we go to, we tend have a priest or even our bishop. They go and they celebrate Mass, they hear confession, and at the end of the summer, the bishop provides sacraments of confirmation or First Communion. So it's a beautiful experience that we have. And even though we are providing service and administering them, at the same time, we are just blessed by them, by their presence. And that is the unity that brings us together every single time that we are with them.
That's beautiful to be able to see, with your background as a migrant yourself, your own experience, but at the same time being able to see them as beloved sons and daughters of God, and at the same time walking with them together as they continue their journey, as you have been able to experience with God yourself, and then being able to share that with them and with other brothers seminarians and also priests and so forth.
So you mentioned something that I would like to circle back on, because it's my experience so far. Moving to different places in the world, having experience with different people, my life as an individual, but my life as a seminarian and future priest, it does feel like a journey. A journey that wherever I go to, God presents me people that He wants me to interact with, people that He blesses me with immensely, that He uses me, and I can feel that I'm His instrument to bless these people that I'm providing any type of service or ministering them. So this is a journey that started when I left Puerto Rico. The first time I landed there, I felt, oh, this is what a migrant feels like. Oh, this is what it looks like. I'm living that. So it's a journey that I've experienced, but also a journey that when I look around to my left and to my right, I'm not walking alone. I'm walking with people all together. And as a Christian and as a Catholic, all together to one main purpose, God, the gospel, God, our church. So it is a journey that is a blessing. It's a journey that I'm really happy and glad that God has called me to, to walk with these people.